Tattoo artist of Reddit, what's the most beautiful saddest request you've ever gotten or one that has stood out? My oldest ever client. She was 76 and had just received a bad diagnosis. So had come in with her son to cross off get a tattoo from her bucket list. She wanted a blue dragonfly on her collarbone, but couldn't stand upright and steady for long. So, with the help of her son, I had to lay her down on the bed to apply the stencil. Wherever possible, you should always apply a stencil with a client standing naturally, so that the design isn't distorted when gravity shifts their body. She laughed hysterically when she stood up to check the stencil placement and it shifted from her shoulder and disappeared into her cleavage. We had a great time during the tattoo. The three of us laughed and joked. She had a great sense of humor and was really positive despite her grim diagnosis. 2.5 years later, she returned to the tattoo shop. Now 78. Far less energetic this time. She asked me to add her son's name beneath the blue dragonfly. He had suddenly fallen sick and passed away before her. My partner pro bono's tattooed nipples on women's reconstructed breasts. She is a cosmetic tattooist and post-operative breast cancer patients are referred to her. They often cry when they see themselves after the procedure. They say it is feeling whole again after so much trauma. A young woman came in wanting a belly button tattoo. When I asked what she wanted in her belly button, she said, "I don't have a belly button. I want you to tattoo one on me." She was born with malfunctioning organs and as a newborn the doctors had cut her open from sternum to tailbone in order to remove said organs and then stitched her back up, leaving 2 small holes in her side for waist. She was perfectly sealed up apart from those 2 holes. After I had tattooed a dainty little grey and pink navel, she got up to have a look. Tears welled in her eyes and then she did a little dance as she squeaked, "I've never felt closer to my mother." Double quote. The shop got a little dustier that day. That was just about the best feeling I've ever had after completing a tattoo. My sis is an artist. She had a client she really liked, did some good portraiture work on. The client was out at dinner one night when she suddenly got a headache and died on the spot from a brain aneurysm, leaving behind her young son. My sister did a charity event to raise money for her family and tattooed dozens of red balloons in her memory. I'm still really proud of her for doing that. Edit. Holy shit guys, wow. Just wanted to say, if you're having the worst skull splitting headache of your life, do not hesitate. Call 911. It's slim, but you do have a chance if you know what to do. Not me, but my artist. A guy came in his shop and asks for a Street George killing the dragon tat. My artist did the job and that was it. Like a month after, a girl came in the shop and she asked to for the same design. And my artist said something like, "Oh good, I have done the same picture like a month ago. So I'm still fresh and can do a really good job." And as soon as he finished the sentence, the girl started crying really bad. The guy was her brother that committed suicide 1 week before. And she wanted the tat for legacy. He did the job pro bono. Edit. Some spelling. English is not my first language. Sorry for the mistakes. I tattooed a pig and rooster on a young couple's feet. He got the rooster. She got the pig. Traditionally, sailors would get these designs tattooed as a superstitious way to keep from drowning. A few months later, he contacted me to let me know that a while after they got the tattoos, they broke up. She then took her own life. He came back to me to get the pig tattooed on his other foot to match. It was a heavy day, for sure. My sil got a tattoo of an owl and had my brother's ashes mixed with ink for the owl's eyes. My brother had very vibrant and striking blue eyes, and the owl has the same shade of blue eyes. I was an apprentice and I sold custom drawings at the same time. I once had a woman who wanted a rainbow heart that looked like shattered glass. She then explained me that it was in memory of her daughter, who died from a car crash. The day of her death, she came out to her mom as a lesbian. Her mom didn't react well and the daughter went for a drive to vent a little. That drive is the one who killed her. I could tell through the mails how devastated her mom was, and how guilty she felt. It really broke my heart. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect it to blow out like this. Thanks kind strangers for the awards. For more details. It was in France. Several years ago. I was a part-time apprentice. It was one of my first customers. Kind of a brutal start in the business. I was just 18, I'm now 25. Almost 26. And quit the job since, and it still haunts me sometimes. It was heartbreaking. My best friend is a tattoo artist and a client walked in. He asked for a tattoo of his daughter's scar in the same area so his daughter won't be self-conscious about it. Throughout the appointment, he talked about his daughter and how proud he was of her. I've seen a news story about a young girl who had to have a brain tumor removed. It left a large scar on one side of her head. So her dad got a tattoo of a scar in the same place on his head. Not a tattoo artist. Just heavily tattooed. One of my artist friends told me a story about a guy who came in that had lost his firstborn at 6 years old to childhood lymphoma. The guy wanted to have a full body suit done of all the kids' drawings. The drawings were terrible but he never wanted to forget them. FCK. As a dad that is so sad. My tattoo artist got asked to tattoo a kid, 11 years old, that has maybe 3 months left to live to tattoo the Superman logo on his chest. He had to refuse because he is no medical tattooist. But he told them to paint his chest every time he comes here for free. He is such a cool guy. He was invited to his funeral and tattooed some fake skin. Don't know what he meant with that, and they put this in his casket. Awesome but very sad. Fake skin is used as training material when artists are apprenticing. Usually made of silicone or something similar. It helps them practice their skills before they begin to work on clients. Pig skin and melons can be used for practicing too. That's a beautiful story. Very kind of him to offer the tattoo for his burial. When my little brother died I asked my tattoo artist for a memorial tattoo for him. A calico cat, me, and an angelic corgi, him. Corgis were his favorite thing in the entire world. Playing around an anchor, he was in the Navy for years. It was personal to me and he did a lovely job. We both cried when he finished and I was checking it out in the mirror. And he gave me a really big hug. Edit. For people asking for a picture. Honestly I've put on some weight since I got a tat. Grief plus quarantine plus shitty hip, and it's gone blurry. Plus it's hard for me to get a good close up due to the fact that the tat is on my bad leg and it's difficult to bend over. So, here's a pic. Simple but beautiful story. Elderly man came into the tattoo shop for his first tattoo. He wanted his wife's name. While drawing it up for him, he explained his wife of 45 years had just passed away a month ago. He told me she never wanted him to have a tattoo but he was in the service and always wanted one, of her name, but he never got it because she wouldn't let him. He says I don't mean to be ornery or disrespect her wishes. I just need a piece of her with me until we're together again. Double quote. Edit. Whoa, was tattooing and didn't expect this simple comment to blow up. Thank you. Kind Redditors, y'all have made my heart happy today. Special thanks for the award. Not a tattoo artist but my partner is. One of his clients committed suicide just after lockdown. A month before she died he'd done a beautiful chest piece for her. Her uncle recently got in touch and is wanting the same piece. RIPX. I wonder how many people will we lose to suicide addictions this year. I think that if you were already struggling, 2020 is a kick in the nuts. My father-in-law had ashes from his dog put into the ink of his memorial tattoo. The artist is a member of the family so they were able to accommodate his request. I've been diagnosed with leukemia since last year. I can't get a tattoo quite yet. But when I can I want to get a voice wave of my mom saying I love you tattooed where the central line used to be in my arm. Edit. Thank you all for the kind words. I'm currently in remission and if I find out I'm still in remission next week. I got my PICC line tattooed over too when I was done chemo. Not without pain. But without stain. I hope your tat helps you heal too. Sending you good vibes and love. My brother passed a little over 10 years ago and one of his best friends is a tattoo artist. He used to be in the military and would write letters to us, so we were able to get one of his favorite sayings in his own handwriting from piecing it all together. I also had him mix his ashes in with the ink. My brother's body broke down immediately when I opened the urn I have for him. Needless to say, he had to take a little break before he started. Not a tattoo artist, but my father-in-law was tragically taken from us. He was run over by a speeding motorcycle. Our family was torn apart. The shti responsible was wealthy, well connected, and didn't even get a ticket, suspended license, asked to take a defensive course. Never acknowledged, apologized. My father-in-law was an amazing and somewhat known artist. While going through his studio, we found a sketch of the angel Gabriel, our son's name. My wife now has that exact sketch fit scale on her back. It is a beautiful homage and allows us to keep his memory with us. My mother-in-law is spending the weekend with us. They raised their families and this was supposed to be their time together. FCK people who walk through the world that way. Please slow down everyone and enjoy the times you have with your loved ones. Tattoo artist here. I just wanna chime in and say this. Tattoos are a powerful tool for healing. For sure. But we aren't therapists. I get to know a lot of my clients over the years and we tell each other about our traumas and become good friends over time. But holy shit. Do not use your tattooist as a therapist. Especially on the first appointment. Or through a long oversharing email. I care about my clients, but I am not prepared emotionally for them to blast me with their trauma right out of the gate. Graphic details of death, loss, abuse, assault. Buddy, I just met you. I have no training to be able to handle this internally, nor to help you in the way that a professional can. Oftentimes therapy costs about as much as a tattoo. And while it's less cool, it might be more helpful in the long run. Edit. Wow, this comment has blown up more than anything else I've posted on Reddit. Thanks for hearing me. Y'all. Thanks for the awards, geez. My best friend died a few years ago in a car accident. The very last conversation we ever had was a phone conversation of him telling me about his new tattoo. Obviously, he never got to show it to me. But his mom sent me a picture of it a few months later. With her permission, I went and got the same tattoo a year and a half after his death. The kicker is, I lived a couple hours away from the artist who did my friend's tattoo. So I went to her. It was so healing to get to talk to someone who had seen him. And now I have a great tattoo with a great story. Not a tattoo artist, I have 2 floral and wildlife themed sleeves that cover 10 years of self-harm scars. Many artists refused to tattoo over my scars, and then I met Wolfgang, the nicest, coolest artist around. He does beautiful work and I now get compliments on my arms instead of stares or awkward questions. I never wore short sleeves in front of anyone before I got my first piece done. His work has given me a confidence that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Tattoos are cool. And Wolfgang is brilliant. Sadly, I'm yet another non-tattoo artist. But one of my favorite co-workers had medical problems as a young child and ended up adopting a cat sharing the same problems. I don't remember the name. Sorry. But it was heart related. The cat grew up with her and died about 2 years ago. So she got a cat chasing a bell, their favorite toy, with a heart to the side saying "You can't stop me." It made me very sad. And it was a very pretty tattoo. Guy came in, he had one leg, so I thought he was interesting. He wanted a tattoo on his hand and asked if it was okay to tattoo it since he had recently broken his hand. I said it was fine as long as it was healed up. I asked out of curiosity how he broke his hand and he said I punched my dog. I got him to fill out the form with his name and address and asked casually where the dog was and he just said "Gone now." Told him I was sorry that I couldn't do his tattoo and then turned his shti into the cops. I should have just taken his other leg. Fucker. My husband has a tattoo for his previous fiancée who died of cancer at only 39 years old. It's a woman going up a staircase and a clock at the time she died. I always thought it was a really sad but touching memorial. My mom died when I was really little. He married my stepmom 6 years after. He always said that he was lucky enough to find 2 women in his life that he got along with so well. and put up with his shenanigans. He loved them both with all his heart, but he considers them to be two separate chapters of his life. Not an artist, but this is a very personal story. In 2015 I got Destiny, the Taken King, and met 5 people to do a raid, 4 of whom I still play with today. The 5th was named Daniel. He played Titan class and was the best sniper I've ever seen. But he was also a really nice kid. He always encouraged everybody and hyped us up. But in 2017 he died to cancer, and I'd never get to tell him how much I appreciated him. He played the Solar subclass, which if you don't play, means you get a small flaming hammer, much like Thor's, to throw at people and cause havoc. Well, our other Titan Carl also played the subclass. So, as a memorial to Daniel and his favorite class, he got a tattoo of the flaming hammer on his arm. Something simple and sweet, with a huge meaning. I have a cardinal on my arm in memory of my stepdad. He had one leg, loved Christmas, and one of my fav gifts I've ever gotten from him was a dream catcher. My tattoo artist took all that and made a gorgeous one-legged cardinal holding a dream catcher with some holly behind it. John, if somehow the afterlife lets you see it, I got it because you made a mark on my life by choosing to help raise a little red-headed demon. You didn't have to, but you did it anyways. Thank you for everything. I made my tattoo artist cry twice. I'd been in for a couple with them after my regular guy retired. I went in and asked for Patch from 102 Dalmatians with his paws up and the words "You can beat this." He asked why, so I told him I'd spoken to an oncologist. I had leukemia. I'd bruise really easy, so to cheer up my daughter I'd put my hair in pigtails and say I felt like being a Dalmatian today. I told him I'd be back when I went into remission to get the "You can beat this" crossed out and C put underneath. I booked it last week and set him off for the second time. A woman came straight from her father's funeral with his final will and testament and had me put his signature on her arm. She could hardly make out the words and we both cried the entire time. It was such a deep experience I couldn't charge her. Not an artist, but I was in the shop where my boyfriend at the time got tattooed. While he was working on his sleeve, I got bored and decided to get a tattoo that I'd always wanted. A lotus flower with the stem in the shape of the logo for the National Eating Disorder Association. I wasn't trying to put my business out there, so I tried to draw the shape, but I realized that wasn't working out. So I showed the artist the logo, and obviously he saw what it was. We got to talking, and I told him my story. When it came time to pay, he didn't charge me anything. I tipped him $80. And he said he was proud to see someone successfully beat an eating disorder. It's still one of my favorite tattoos. A friend of mine drifted apart, got a bouquet of roses tattooed across his back. 1 silver one for his mum, 3 black ones for his sisters, a red one for his partner, and 2 green buds for his nephew and niece. His mum passed away a week after he got them complete, but at least we will always have the memory of her look of shock when he showed them to her. I wonder if he's added more. I have a tattoo of a question mark behind my ear. My friend had the same tattoo when I met her and I used to think it was so cool. I was 16 at the time when she committed suicide. It was the first death I had experienced. Hers was the first funeral I ever went to. The effect it had on me is something that I still remember 7 years later. Last year I got the same tattoo in the same place in memory of her. My most sentimental tattoo and also one of my favorites. Rest in peace, Bob. You had more of an effect on this world than you could ever know. OHH man. I figure this will get buried, but here we go. They weren't my clients, but one day a couple comes in to get a handprint tattoo. They show us the handprint and the artist is like, "Dang, that looks pretty muddled. Is it possible to get another version?" Nope. Not possible. It's their baby's handprint, and it was taken post-mortem. It's the only physical reminder they have of their child who only lived a few hours. Working by a children's hospital was rough. My sister-in-law's baby was just stillborn, so she got a branch on her forearm with 2 birds on it and a baby bird flying away. Absolutely heartbreaking. My mom got a tattoo of the main lyrics of the song she sang to our rescue dog who died of a preventable disease from the Dominican. He was the most loving, thankful and well-behaved dog anyone will ever have known. And he died at the age of 6 after only having him for 2 years because the vets said they could save us hassle for the disease treatment if we started when it becomes active. By then it was too late. His last days were so sad. It broke my mom for a long time. I was in a car accident and lost my brother. Got a portrait of him done on my arm. It's a pretty tragic story that I told to the artist. When he was done, he gave me a minute alone in a tiny studio surrounded by others getting work done. I spent a few minutes bawling my eyes out. I kinda felt bad for everyone around having to see that. He cut me a deal, which I didn't ask for or want. I have lots of tats. This one is obviously my favorite. It's an amazing piece and very well done. When I was a teenager, I was in a children's choir that often got asked to sing with our city's Philharmonic Orchestra for large symphonies and stuff. In 2013 we had the privilege of being part of the premiere of the Afghanistan Requiem composed by Jeffrey Ryan. The Requiem has a movement that only the children sing called Lux Eterna, and it consisted of various bird calls and names. Lux Eterna is Latin for light eternal, and the movement represents how the soldiers would find small moments of happiness in listening to the birds call each other. Having the children sing such a movement further signifies how children and small moments of joy can be a constant source of light in one's life even in the most dire circumstances. I thought that was an amazing message, so I have a tattoo the word Lux, which means light, along with some birds to remind me to always try to find something good to look to as a source of comfort and hope in dark times. The most memorable tattoo that I've seen is one of my brother's. For background, my brother used to be my cousin, but he had adopted him because his mom, dad, and little brother were all murdered. He had wanted a tattoo for most of his life and had sketched out a few designs. They went to the tattoo place and had the person there do a few touch-ups to the desired design, then came home with a cross with angel wings that had his little brother's name, date of birth, and death date. It is a very beautiful tattoo and is my favorite out of all of his. One that was really touching for me was a girl whose dad had passed away. She brought in the last note he had written to her and I tattooed the love you sign off on her. I'll always remember that one. I tattooed a plus sign on a couple. The air was heavy, but it wasn't my place to ask why. Once we put the stencils on, they opened up. They had just miscarried. She told me they were excited to bring life into this world together. And their favorite moment of joy was when she took the pregnancy test and they waited together for their overwhelmingly positive response. For the plus sign, air cute. Not an artist, but the one with the tattoo. My pup was tragically taken and it messed me up very badly. Our amazing local tattoo artist was doing a contest and he rigged it that month for me. The loss of my boy was very public in my area. He was loved by many and it had an effect on the whole community. I received the most incredible realistic portrait tattoo of my baby so I can have him with me always. Not a tattoo artist, but got a very meaningful tattoo this past February. I lost my 13-year-old dog on the 4th of January and it broke my heart. He was with me more than half of my life and put a smile on my face every single day for 13 years. He was the most precious bundle of joy. I always let him sleep on my bed and he used to curl up and rest his head close to my ankle. So simple, but it made me feel so warm inside. I got this. My tattoo artist was asked to do a memorial piece for my son. He picked my placement and when he saw the size of the footprint he couldn't do it that tiny without ruining it. So he blew up the photo and added every single crease and detail in that tiny nickel-size footprint. And hand wrote his name in his own handwriting under it. And above my tattoo of fall leaves. He said it makes it seem like he's walking on them. The tattoo came out absolutely amazing. My buddy hasn't gotten JT yet, but his younger brother has Down syndrome and as a kid would draw endless lines of simple jellyfish, spanning page after page. So my friend said if he ever was gonna commit to a tattoo, it would be a line of 3 jellies symbolizing the extra chromosome his brother has. I once tattooed a lunar moth on a cancer survivor. As he walked towards the mirror and saw the finished product, he started crying, knowing that his nightmares were finally over and that the moth was a representation of himself fully free from cancer. It was hard to not cry watching this. I got my first tattoo at age 16. And it says, "One day I'll fly away" across my ribs. I got it because my grandma used to sing that old Christian hymn all the time. The artist who made the song used to live down the road from my grandparents, so it's always been an important thing to me, even though I'm not religious at all. But I also got it because I was very suicidal as a teen and always promised myself that I would fly away from my traumatic circumstances and not attempt to kill myself. It's just my daily reminder that life is worth living.